I promised you Six Nations stats, and we've got Six Nations stats. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. So we've had 2 rounds of the Six Nations now, and they've actually thrown up some fairly interesting stats. In this one, what we're going to do is we're going to go through just the official stats. And the reason for that is because I haven't had a day off in over a week, and I've still got to wait basically until this weekend to have a day off. So it means, not as much time as I want to in terms of actually do my own stats. So what we'll do is we'll do some of the official stats this week. Then next week, we'll do a kind of a mix between looking at how the official stats have changed and then also some of my own stats that I put together, because there's some stats that, will be fairly interesting, but the Six Nations don't actually provide them. But I know that I can work them out myself. So that's what we're going to do with that. And in this one, we're just going to go through, first of all, some team stats and talk about, how that kind of, how that's kind of played out so far in the first couple of rounds, and what that says about kind of team strategy, if it's applicable. And then also then we look at some individual stats as well, just to pick out some of the top performers in different areas. Okay, so let's jump into it. We're going to start with tries scored. So top try scorers so far after 2 rounds: France with 10 tries, Ireland then with 8, England with 7, Scotland 7, Italy 2, and Wales 2. So France, top try scorers, even though, they left a lot of tries out there against England, let's be honest. Obviously, helped by the fact that they played Wales first up. And, at this stage, you're probably thinking, given that what's happened with the Welsh coaching team, etc., and the players being called up and stuff, that might be the biggest margin that anybody beats Wales by. It may not be, but it possibly could be. They might get a little bit of backbone in them against the likes of Ireland, Scotland, and England that they didn't have for the first 2 rounds. So France may have made hay while the sun shone in that regard, but you can only play what's against you. And France were irresistible in that one. Not so irresistible against England, but still enough to be the top try scorers. Next then, Ireland, as I said, with 8, decent return for them. England and Scotland both on 7, so that's going to be an interesting matchup this weekend with those two facing off against each other. And you could see very easy, I think, a bonus point for tries for both teams in that game. Italy then with just the 2, and then Wales with 2 as well. So obviously Wales got their 2 against Italy, and Italy got, I think, 1 against Scotland and 1 against Wales. But yeah, both of those teams will want their attack to function better in the coming rounds. So next then we're going to look at is let me find here. So attacking 22-meter entries. So top of the list there, Ireland with 22, France next with 20, England 17, Scotland 17, Italy 11, and Wales with just 8. So Ireland, the team being able to get themselves in position most often in the first 2 rounds. We still haven't seen them fully click as a team, and we may not see them fully click through the whole tournament. There's no guarantee that things are going to come together properly for teams, but you feel like if it does, then somebody is going to get a hiding. But at the same time, in the first 2 rounds, I'd say they weren't as clinical as they were last year and certainly the year before as well in the Six Nations. And I think that bears out the fact that Ireland have had more attacking 22 entries compared to France, but France have more tries than Ireland. So yeah, a little bit of work, I'd say, for Ireland to do in that one. But also, France, how many of those 22 entries were against England? How many times did they drop the ball? Again, England and Scotland tied there, and again, it just makes it more exciting to see those two go head to head, I think. And Italy and Wales kind of hold, bringing up the rear there. But you look at it and you think, well, Wales aren't that far off Italy. Yes, they did lose against them. But you can see, like, a little bit of improvement could certainly go a long way to helping them. And that's why I think, Welsh fans should be excited about the fact that Matt Sharrett is coming in as an interim coach. Not that they're going to suddenly start like beating everybody, but there should be some marginal improvement there, and even marginal improvements can, lead to much better overall performances and closer scores as well. On to the next one then, we have carries. So team carrying most is Scotland with 292, then France with 277, Wales with 269, Ireland with 205, England 203, and Italy down there with 168. Sorry, my eyesight's not that great, so sometimes I have to lean in. So Scotland carrying most. And you actually look at the position of Scotland 1 and Ireland 4. And last year in the tournament, those two probably would have been switched. Maybe Scotland in 3rd rather than 4th. But yeah, Scotland carrying a lot more ball this year than they were last year. Similarly, France as well. Wales carrying lots of ball, but not really doing anything with it is their problem. And then, England, everybody has this impression that England are being more expansive and they're running the ball more, but you can see there, comparatively, they're not. And what's happening is, I think they're just getting more out of the carries than they were in previous years. It's more of an efficiency thing rather than, a volume thing for them. And then Italy, another team who kind of turn things around in terms of that as well, because, previously we would have seen Italy trying to run the ball from everywhere, and they would have been near the top of the list here and this one, but they're being more pragmatic. Their exits from their own 22 are generally, decent kicks, and then a chase or, moving up to contest the line out, rather than trying to, run it from behind their own posts and that kind of stuff and getting themselves in trouble. And because of that, the results are improving for them as well. So being more pragmatic and getting the most out of what they have. Next time we're going to look at meters carried. So Scotland again at the top there with 1,686.1 meters. France next with 1,627.6. England 1,417.1. Wales 1,337.5. Anyone who knows old computer gaming terminology would say, that isn't elite. It might be lost on some people, but maybe some old fogies out there who used the game will know what I'm talking about. Then Ireland with 1,329.1. Italy at the bottom there with 1,012.9. So again, Scotland right at the top there, but we haven't been seeing the kind of the return for that really for them in terms of their results. Against Ireland really didn't do much with the meters that they did carry. And then Ireland right down the bottom there again, Ireland have switched their game. Previously Ireland were the team who carried the most, and also just went through phase after phase after phase, trying to break teams down and make them lose concentration and then create gaps. They've completely changed their style this year now, where it's more about trying to get that, bang right in. And if they don't, then they look, what are other options? Can we kick over the top? Can we put up a contestable kick? They're no longer just hanging onto the ball for the sake of it. And the thing was previously, they saw in the World Cup that teams, use that against them, especially New Zealand in that quarterfinal. So changed their style again, and now they're not so worried about kind of carrying the ball so much. They want to get value from the carries. And if we look at meters gained, then we can see, France at the top there with 1,037.6. So they're obviously getting more value than Scotland. And same with England, 918.1 for them meters gained. Scotland 862.6. So even though they're carrying the most meters, they're only third for meters gained. And then Ireland 726.7, Wales 641.5, and then Italy 603.9. So the thing, if you look at Wales there, you can see that they had carried for 1337.5, and they only gained 641.5, which means for every meter that they're gaining, they're carrying more than 2 meters. And we saw that with them standing hugely deep in their attack. And a lot of the time, if they went, out like 3 or 4 passes, they were 10, 15 meters behind the gain line. And you can't really, gain much from that. And you can see it in the stats as well. It's coming to pass there. Next time we have total passes. So Scotland with 383, Wales 364, Ireland 354. France 295, England 243, and Italy 203. So again, Scotland, again, the ones who are moving the ball around as much as they can. Wales next, but again, not really getting much from it. Then you have Ireland and France. Kind of got Ireland, France, and England, the teams who, have at times at least kind of looked the best in the term. Now Scotland, have looked good at times as well, but France looked really good against Wales, but how much was that Wales and how much was that France is the question. But England have looked good at times as well, and it's kind of the middle bit there in terms of not overpassing. I think Scotland, you could probably say passed a little bit too much and went up a few blind alleys. And then Italy, again, the team that a couple of seasons ago you would have expected to be up there with Scotland with number of passes, being just more efficient and kind of pragmatic as well with their play. Okay, next then we have is offload. So Scotland at the top here with 23, France next 22, then a big drop to Ireland on 11, England 8, Wales 8, and then Italy down on 5. So Scotland and France are the teams who are trying to keep that ball alive at any cost. And, with positives and negatives from it, I think both teams have kind of suffered by just offloading to no one and then the opposition snaffling it up and being able to break on the back of it. But, that is both those teams kind of style of play. It's the way they want to play, and they're being true to it, and they see it as being more of a benefit than a negative for them. And then you have kind of in the middle there, Ireland are more kind of on the opinion that they want to offload when it's on, and we see that. We see the likes of Lowe and kind of Sheehan and those kind of guys offloading kind of close to the line to try and get somebody over to score, and not taking as many chances kind of around the middle of the field where it could turn into a line break for the opposition or even a turnover try. And then Italy, the team that again a few years ago they were all for the offloads, trying to moving the ball in their own 22, offloading, just trying to find any kind of gap to get over, and then it was costing them. So you can see how they've changed their style. Next then we have line breaks. So England and France with the most line breaks, 17 each. Then Ireland next with 16, Scotland 11, Wales 7, and Italy with 5. So if you kind of take that together with the offloads, you can see that France are maybe benefiting more from their offloads than Scotland, because Scotland had one more offload than France, but they have just 6 line breaks less than them. And England again being very efficient in terms of being able to break the line. But one thing I'd say about England is, and actually France as well, because France did it against England, is that ability to finish off line breaks, hasn't really been there for them. Yes, they've done it, at times, especially against Wales in terms of France, but there was a few times they didn't do it against England. Then, you have Ireland just behind them there as well. We saw some very significant line breaks, especially against Scotland. and England actually, from Ireland, breaking right up the middle and then having options left and right and, being able to get, tries from on the back of those. Scotland certainly, will want to see more line breaks than they've had so far. Their attack looked very blunt against Ireland. They're going to have to improve that against England, I think. England are really, you can tell already, the fans, the players, the coaches, the whole nations, I think, is really G'd up for that game against Scotland. And if Scotland don't bring their best, England could actually reclaim the Calcutta Cup, and line breaks is going to be one of those things for them. I think, they haven't done, as well in terms of getting Duhan van der Merwe, I think, into the right spaces on the pitch so that he can be, getting line breaks. And the same with Hugh Jones as well. There's going to be no Darcy Graham too, which, will affect him too, because he's another guy who's really good at getting line breaks. Next thing we're going to talk about is kicks and play. So, England at the top there, 84, Italy 77, Wales 67, France 65, Ireland 55, and Scotland 46. So, a couple of things to talk about here. First of all, England at the top there. So, everybody, when they're talking about England, they were saying before, England are kicking too much, they should run the ball more. Now people are saying, it's great, they have Finn Smith in there and Marcus Smith, and they're running the ball a lot more. But look at the stats, they're kicking the ball more. They're kicking the ball more than anyone else. And there's a reason for it. It's because that kicking game at the moment is leading to the line breaks that they're getting, or a lot of the line breaks that they're getting, because it's shifting around the opposition defence, and it's creating opportunities where a wayward kick back to the likes of a Marcus Smith means that the gap that's there can be exploited. So they're things that go hand in hand, and I think England played similarly against Ireland and France. Everybody loved the results against France. They liked the fact that they were very competitive against Ireland in the first half, but not so much that it fell away in the second half. But if England now lose to Scotland playing exactly the same way, people will say they're kicking too much. But the kicking has been part of their success so far, or at least their partial success so far. So that's something to keep in mind. Italy again, 77. We talked about being far more pragmatic, making sure they exit and they're playing the right parts of the field, and that's really helped them. Wales, excuse me, Wales kind of kicking similarly to France, having like a mixed game there, trying to put up contestable kicks and not working so well for them. France last year, along with Scotland, were the biggest kickers in this competition, and both of them have changed their kicking strategies this year, and not just last year, the year before as well. Those two teams kicked way more and much longer than anyone else. France not kicking as long anymore, but they're still kicking longer than Scotland. Scotland have completely changed the way of approaching the game, that they used to kick the hell off the ball. Now they're not kicking long as much anymore. They are putting though the tackle kicks, so grubbers, up and unders, that kind of stuff, like box kicks. They are using them kind of round about as much, maybe a little bit less than other teams, but certainly it's the long kicks that we're seeing coming out of the game. I'm not sure that it's actually working out for them. And I think against England, especially with the likes of Marcus Smith at the back there, some decent long kicks from the likes of Kinghorn or Russell really could get them in decent positions. But you've got the double-edged sword there, right? You don't want to be kicking waywardly to someone like Marcus Smith, because his kind of point of difference is his ability to run in broken field as well. So yeah, we'll see whether they change the tactics for that. And then Ireland, kicking a lot less, but their kicks have been very smart, I feel, this year. Gibson Park kicking a lot, kind of grubbers or little dinks over the tops and stuff. We saw it a lot against Scotland, where it really paid dividends for them. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about then is tackles made. So Italy made the most tackles with 356, then Ireland 317, France 289, England 279, Wales 271, and Scotland 230. So, Italy again, playing with less of the ball than they were in previous years. And again, it's more of that kind of pragmatic approach of trying to play in the right areas in the field rather than just hold on to the ball. Ireland kind of similar. Ireland are comfortable for the most part of being the defensive team rather than the attacking team. And, looking for decent positions. If they're in your half and you make a mistake, they're going to, most of the time punish you in some way, whether that's getting better field position, scoring points or scoring a try. But yeah, I think Ireland now are kind of happy for the opposition to have the ball. But the other thing to think about with Ireland is that given that they have that very aggressive blitz defense, is that they may be making a lot of tackles, but also missing a lot of tackles. We're not talking about that today, but I'm pretty sure, they have missed the most tackles in the tournament by a stretch as well. From England are next after them. But then, you have right down the bottom there, then Scotland, making the least tackles. But again, that's because they're holding on to the ball more, so therefore they don't have to make as many tackles. We used to have a thing a few years ago where there was a lot of talk about you want to hold on to the ball because making the opposition make tackles is going to tire them out, and then it's got to open space later, and you're going to be able to exploit that space. But the thinking on that has kind of shifted a little bit, given that, people then start to think about, well, if we keep holding on to the ball, well, running into big guys who are tackling us is also tiring. And if we keep doing it and repeating it and we're not actually getting any, extra meterage out of it, there has to come a point where we have to say, okay, well, maybe it's better not to have the ball at this stage. I think that's something Scotland have to think about as well is how much ball is too much ball, in terms of your own fitness, etc., and actually wearing yourself down, and just being smart about when you kick, when you run, when you carry the ball, etc. And also the fact that one of the great things about Scotland has been their ability to mix their style of play. That Finn Russell can pass, he can go through a gap himself, he can put in a lovely kick, but if the kicking element is gone, then it's less of a gamble for the opposition to come shooting out of the line as well, and we saw that as well with the intercept try that they conceded against Italy. The fact that they weren't kicking over the top as much made it probably made Italy a little bit braver in terms of coming for intercepts. Next then, let me see, where are we? That was tackles made. So next we have breakdown steals. So breakdown steals, England at the top there with 9. Scotland next 8, Italy 7, Ireland 6, France 3, and Wales with just 2. So England, I think a lot of those steals came from the Curry brothers, and against Ireland as well in that opening game. Probably not as many steals against France, but they did get some decent steals. I think Itoje was, in there as well, getting steals to them. So turning the opposition ball over, very good. But again, you have to be able to actually, have a strategy of what are we going to do once we turn the ball over. And I think England's play hasn't evolved quite enough at this stage for them to take full advantage of that. Scotland are doing very well at turning over ball as well. So even they're holding onto the ball a lot, and even when they lose it, they're still able to get it back pretty quickly. France and Wales kind of on the opposite end of the scale, where it's kind of been difficult for them to get the ball back if they lose it. And for Wales, that has been obviously very detrimental for them, especially we saw a lot against France, but I think especially against Italy, in that game where they would have felt that was their chance, potentially to get a win. Okay, next we're going to look at lineouts 1. So, before the tournament, you probably wouldn't have thought this, but Ireland with the most lineouts 1 so far, 29. Scotland next, 26. England and Italy, 24. France and Wales, 23. So Ireland at the top there, but there's only 6, a difference of 6, and if you look at that, it's kind of an average, per game of, 14, down to about 11, or like, 15 down to 11, something like that. So, that can change in one round of games. But at the moment, at least, Ireland's line-out doing very well, and certainly before the tournament, I didn't think that was going to happen. On to scrum percentage wins then. Wales at the top there, 90.91. England next, 85.71. France, 83.33. Ireland, 81.25. Scotland, 71.43. And Italy, 70.59. But in terms of the scrum actually doing well in the game, I rank Ireland higher than they are, just on win percentage, because I think Ireland have probably won a lot more penalties in their scrum than we're used to seeing them win. And Wales, again, it's a decent platform, and it's good to see them topping a stat, but what have they actually done with that? Not a lot so far. So, but the thing is, it's encouraging for them that if they can get something going, even against Ireland, it's going to be a decent platform for them, and potentially, get an early scrum in the 22, run a nice move off, and get the opening try of the game, and who knows what's going to happen from there, right? Okay, next then we're going to look at some player stats. So let me pull those up on the official site. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is tries scored. So top try scorer, Louis Bielbiari. Guy is absolutely fantastic. He's great to watch. He's got 4 tries, as I said. Hugh Jones next with 3. Obviously got that, he got that hat trick, that was against Italy, right? He scored a hat trick. So great to see that from him, but we want to see kind of more as well from him. No Tuipulotu in there, so there is a lot on his shoulders. So the fact that he was able to kind of step up, and deliver 3 tries, but you want to see more of that, and try assists as well from him, I think are going to be important. Then we have Tommy Freeman next with 2 for England. So I think he's someone that kind of gets overlooked when you're talking about really good wingers. But he's a decent decent in terms of like an option that you could have at full back potentially, and then also decent in terms of finishing off his opportunities as well. Then we have Atasogbe with 2, Ben White with 2, and then Elliot Daly with 1, but tied with everyone else that has 1 so far as well. Next then, we are going to look at meters gained. So let me pull that up. So Blair Kinghorn with the top meters gained so far, 240. Next, Marcus Smith, 189.1. So again, thinking about that game against Scotland, Scotland's kicking strategy, and England's as well. England are going to be kicking to Kinghorn, and Scotland are going to be kicking to Smith. So you got the 2 players who gained the most meters, potentially kicking the ball to each other. And then it's just a case of who's going to run it back. So I think that's going to be a very exciting matchup. Both of these players, have that ability to find gaps, exploit them. They have the pace as well to get through the gaps, and kind of leave the defenders for dead, and also the awareness as well to look for the support to keep moves going rather than just blasting through the defensive line, then getting isolated, 10 or 15 meters away from any support. So that's going to be a very exciting matchup to see at the weekend. Next then, Tomo Ramos with 169.6, James Lowe 164.7, Lorenzo Canone with 137, so fair play to him, and Gregory Aldry with 129. So I think that, all eyes on the fullbacks, I think, at the weekend in the Calcutta Cup. Next then, let me see where we are here. We're going to look at offload. So, lots of Scotland players at the top here. Johnny Gray 5, Blair Kinghorn 5, Rory Darch 5. So it shows you, it's not just the backs doing the offloads. You got 2 forwards in there doing it as well, second row and a back row as well. So it's in the DNA of that team, really. Just keep that ball alive as much as you can. And it is going to pay off for them at some stage against someone, because, just being able to avoid that tackle or, that breakdown and keep the ball alive is going to get somebody through a gap and lead to a score. Then with Tommy Freeman with 3, Tom Ramos 3, and Pierre-Louis Baresi as well with 3 for France. So he hasn't done too badly, playing in their midfield this year. Next then, we're going to look at line breaks. So top of the list there, James Lowe. He's so important, I think, to Ireland. We saw, he's up there with meters gained. Hasn't, scored a bunch of tries or whatever, but he gets us in a lot of good positions, with those line breaks. Also, that massive boot he has as well, really does help Ireland to play in the right areas of the field. Then we have Tommy Freeman with 4, Caden Murley 4 as well, Tomo Ramos 3, Louis Bielbery 3, and Tio Atasogbe with 3 as well. So basically France's back 3 from the opening game against Wales, all on the list there. Next then we're going to look at is kicks and play. So this is very kind of, I think, instructive in terms of how teams have been playing this year compared to other years. So at the top there you got Martin Page Rello with 32, Alex Mitchell 30, Thomas Williams with 30, Anton Dupont 23, Paolo Garbisi the first out half in there 23, and Ben White another scrum half with 22. So lots of kicking from scrum half, and now Dupont a little bit different, given that France used the scrum half in a slightly different role, but still a lot of those kicks, then you know what it is when a scrum half is going to kick it. It's going to be a box kick, or it's going to be a dink over the top. And that's what we're seeing a lot of this year. And for some teams, it's working out well. For other teams, not so much. So when people say Alex Mitchell kicks the ball too much, it's because that's England's strategy. And, to an extent, it's been working out well for them, and has been leading to the more exciting play that people want to see. Okay, next, we're going to look at tackles made. So top of the list there, Josh van der Fleer with 37, then Sebastian Negri 36, Jack Morgan 34, one of the few Welsh players having a decent-ish tournament. Then Lorenzo Canone 31, Giacomo Nicotera 31, and Caelan Doris with 31 as well. Then next we're going to look at is breakdown steals. So top of the pile there, Tom Curry with 4. Guy is just a turnover machine, and really good. I think in the first game against Ireland, again, got plenty of turnovers, but the balance of the back row, with his brother in there, didn't feel right. I think they got the balance a bit better against France, and but the thing is with England is their back row is only kind of one bad performance away from being completely torn up and back to the drawing board for them. I just hope that they can get a settled back row at some stage. Then we have Ben Earl there with 2 as well. So again, aggressive at the breakdown from them. Lorenzo Canone 2, Tyke Byrne with 2, Hugh Jones 2, and Dave Cherry with 2 as well. And then the final one we're going to look at is line out takes. So, like Federico Ruzza, 14, way out ahead on his own there. And, he could play, just 2 more rounds and be injured for the last round. I think he's still going to have the most line out takes in the tournament. He's going to be that far ahead by then. Next, Grant Gilchrist, 9, Mario Itoje, 8, Ryan Baird, 8, Matt Ferguson, 8, and Ty Byrne, 7. So looking at the Irish takers there, you got Baird and Byrne, who both played kind of that 6/5 kind of role in their team, being kind of a player who can play second row, but playing in the back row. And that kind of talks to the fact that Ireland have been going more towards, just beyond the middle and towards the tail of the line out with a lot of the throws. They haven't seen as much, to the front, where you would expect maybe someone like James Ryan, to be taking the ball. And, the fact that Ireland's line-out was so poor coming in shows a lot of courage and a lot of kind of faith that they had in Paul O'Connell's kind of strategies as well. For I think that they're going so far back to actually take the ball as well. So I think that was a kind of an interesting one there. But those are the stats we're going to look at for now. As I said, next week, in the follow week, we're going to look at, a kind of hybrid of stats. So these ones that we have from the official side, but then ones that I've worked out myself as well, that kind of take some of these stats and give them a little bit more context in terms of, how numbers, kind of relate to each other, etc. So definitely going to be doing that. Then, from, possibly tomorrow, depending on teams coming out. I know the England team has come out already, but depending on which teams have been out, in time, tomorrow or Thursday, we're going to start doing our previews, for the games themselves. We will have also definitely tomorrow, we're going to have just a preview of the weekend, of Six Nations rugby, kind of at a high level. And then, as I said, as the teams come out, we'll then have individual previews for each of the games. And the fact that I'm off, at the weekend means that I can also do reviews of each of the games, because I missed the Italy-Wales game. And, I never like to do a review of a game that I haven't actually watched in full. I will do kind of round reviews where I've only watched highlights, but, a review of a game, I have to watch the whole game to kind of get, more of a feel for ebbs and flows in the game, etc., player performances, stuff like that. And I wouldn't be fair, to cover a game that I haven't done that for. So that's why we had no, Italy-Wales review. But this weekend, as I said, I'm going to be off the whole weekend, so I will be able to do each of the games in turn. And then after that, then we will have, the round review, to wrap things up as well. So, more exciting, Six Nations stuff to come. And I hope you guys join me then.